tough loss for the Terps against LSU. Really fun, season for the Terps, considering how young they were. Can you give us your thoughts on that game, especially the last couple possessions? It looked like Bruno just kind of got out of position on Waters' drive there, and if he's in front of that LSU player, he can alter the shot or maybe block it or force Waters to take a bad shot. Tough way to lose.
Yeah, it was. I thought LSU was smart. They took in that situation, which probably the last thing, and I did it all the time, telling Maryland, coming out of the huddle, you say whatever you do, don't foul. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times players tighten up when you say that to them. You probably shouldn't say that to them, because what happened with Bruno there, in other words, if that was in the middle of the game, he would have blocked the shot. Right. In my mind, there's no question about it. But in that situation, you don't want to be the guy that fouls and puts the guy on the line for two or whatever. And so you're careful. And by the time, instead of reacting, you were thinking. And when you start thinking like that in those situations, it's too quick. And that guy's good. He's a good player, a very good college point guard. He's a little small, but he's very good.
He's special. Yeah, he's good.
Gary, were you surprised at LSU's struggles at trying to break down Maryland's zone that they brought out in the second half? They really had a hard time, trying to figure out what to do against them. I think Burge threw it on them at the exact right time.
Yeah, I think, it becomes desperation time. You get down 15 or 16, and nothing's working defensively for you. They're able to score. So you throw out a zone that you probably used a couple times during the year. How much you practice it, I don't know how much they practice it or whatever, but it's worth the try because nothing else is working, and it certainly bothered LSU. They're playing without their head coach. I don't know exactly what that means. Some staffs have assistants that do a lot of the X and O's. Some don't do any X and O's. They just recruit. And so I don't know if there's anybody on the bench there that could make adjustments for LSU with their zone offense, because they had no zone offense. They didn't try to get the ball inside. They just fired away from outside, and really that big three they made right at the end of the game, that was not a good shot. That was kind of a fall away in front of the bench, right. Probably 22 feet, something like that, and it went in. And those things happen, but they never did really solve the zone.
Yeah. Did you know this Terps team? I think was the third or fourth youngest team in D1. Did you ever have a team that young?
Without a doubt, we had Joe Smith and Keith Booth as freshmen, and Dwayne Simpkins, X-ray hip, and Johnny Rhodes as sophomores, and got to the Sweet 16.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
94.
Team.
That was an excellent team. But
there was 2 freshmen and 3 sophomores.
Yeah, can you kind of compare that, coaching that team to some of the more experienced teams?
Well, when guys are young, they're hungry, and they're like sponges most of the time. They want to learn. They don't think they know everything. You get juniors and seniors, especially nowadays. They think there's something wrong, first of all, because they're still there as juniors and seniors. But I always like coaching young guys because it reminded me when I coached in high school. 2 of those guys are only a year removed from high school, and I really liked being a high school coach because you could teach, and guys, they just wanted to get better because they were trying to get to college, and that's what that team in 93, 94 reminded me of. Just a bunch of hungry guys, and they all came from good programs and good coaches, which really helped. In other words, you get freshmen that know the game. It makes your job easier as a coach in college. You get guys that didn't play for a good high school coach, then it's really hard. It's a struggle.
Talking to legendary Maryland hoops coach Gary Williams, took the Terps to the Final Four twice, won the national championship in 2002. Wanted to kind of get your perspective on a couple of big issues in the last week. One regarding coaching. Tom Izzo caught a lot of flack for his confrontation with the player. Let it be known he didn't touch the player, but he yelled at him. And in this culture, apparently you can't yell at players anymore. What was your take on kind of the hullabaloo around Izzo and that confrontation?
Well, I think a lot of the people that criticize Tom Izzo never played on a team, never coached a team, and had no idea what they were talking about, except they're part of the new generation that believes that you shouldn't get on people, push people in that way. Basketball's been going on for a long time now, And, my coach in college, Bud Milliken, he'd just grab you by the shirt and put you up against the locker in the locker room. And, I had a different first name playing for him. I wasn't called Gary very often playing for him. And that's just the way it was. You accepted that. Your parents accepted it. It's the old story. Nowadays, you get thrown out of high school. Your parents bring you in, and they yell at the teacher and the principal for throwing you out. Well, it's the same philosophy. And with television, especially with high def now, nothing's a secret. Most of the time, there's a camera on the bench. And Izzo's Izzo. He's not going to change. He coached with Judd Heathcote when I was coaching at Ohio State back in the 80s. And Judd Heathcote, he was as tough as Bob Knight, Gene Cady. All those guys are in the Big Ten then. And, you had to hold your ground. And that's the way you coached. And, I coached the same way. And, you get on players. But the big thing Izzo does, and I tried to do, was once the game's over or once practice is over, you got your arm around the player. You're talking about different things in his life, trying to get him to keep developing and making him understand that, that's just basketball. That was just that situation. I still love you. You're still the man, that type of thing. And when you have good assistant coaches, and I had a great one in Jimmy Patsos, he'd take the guy aside and he says, hey, look, he just went off. He's okay. Tomorrow's another day. He won't even remember, today. So that's a key, too, is having a great staff.
Right, because Gary wouldn't yell at the player. He'd turn around and yell at his coaches.
I yell at the players, too.
Yeah, he's an equal opportunity yeller.
Equal opportunity, that's right.
It was great. By the way, a lot of people don't talk about that timeout on the court. Cassius Winston, the point guard, the stud point guard from Michigan State, he kind of, he touched Coach Izzo on the shoulder and said, Coach, it's okay, I got it, as a leader. So that was kind of good to see, too, from Cassius Winston.
Well, and all the response of all his former players, on the Internet, Green with Golden State, people like that, they just defended Izzo all the way, to a man. They all defended Izzo. They know, hey, Green got to the NBA because of Izzo not just yelling at Green, but that was part of the process for Green to get to the NBA. He wasn't we played against him. He wasn't a great college player. And, he's making his $10 million, $15 million a year now because maybe Izzo pushed him in a tough way, but pushed him to get to where he is.